We're doing a quick audio test right now. This is the first time we use the microphone.
But I would never sit like this. Like, this is going to be so distracting. I'm going to be so aware that the microphone's here.
Okay, so to paint a picture of what's happening right now, I've asked Lizzie to put her mouth very close to the Shure SM. No, don't. No ASMR. It's too much.
Well, I just realized that I think I'm way better at foaming milk than Chris is. Because I just made us both lattes and you were complaining about how you couldn't get foam and I full on just did like some cappuccino level foam.
Okay, that's a straight up lie. I've never stated I can't get foam.
I never said you couldn't. You told me once that you were like, I want to know how to make a cappuccino. Don't interrupt me. Oh, okay. So our podcast named A Couple of Creatives. Stop mimicking me right now.
I'm mimicking you.
Is going to be about, we figured because, the interesting angle that Chris and I have as opposed to a lot of other people, I think, is that we are in a couple.
In a couple. We're in a couple. We saw a couple and we're like, we want to be in that.
We are a couple, currently coupling, and we're creatives. So we're a couple of creatives. And we thought most of the time you'll be listening to us because we're the only two people that you're going to have consistently here every week. But once in a while, we would like to be interviewing other creative couples. And even though they're necessarily, I think some of the couples we'll be interviewing will be ones that work together, but I also want to interview some couples where like one of them is a creative and the other, like it's just them in a relationship and how it functions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, different perspectives of different relationships with a creative element to it.
Because I think that it changes so much of a relationship's dynamic when one person or both people in the couple is dynamic, and it's just such a different lifestyle and such a different way of functioning, especially when one of them becomes like a bigger personality online, and then there's that constant demand to put out creative things and
or introduce your personal life into a creative element or a creative outlet.
Yeah, and for us, a lot of people ask how we are able to work together, how that works.
How does that
work? So I think that's a lot of what we'll be addressing through these and maybe our weekly challenges, working with each other.
Hourly challenges.
Hourly challenges. Some different things that we're facing in our business as well as what other creative couples are facing.
So why don't we paint a picture of where we are currently to give everybody a bit of a background on us, and then we can kind of jump into some questions. So,
am I close enough to the microphone still?
Yes, you're.
Okay, because you look really close to it, and I'm wondering.
I've compensated for the distance that you've chosen as appropriate for your mouth and the microphone.
You look even closer to it.
For me, I'm right up in there. This microphone.
But I want to make sure we sound the same. This is why I want to hear. Why can't I have headphones?
Okay, well, as of right now, there's only one headphone slot.
Can I listen for a bit?
Oh, my God.
Because I feel like I'm going to listen to this after. And then your voice is going to sound, like, amazing.
No, you sound good.
Okay.
Do you like how it sounds? I'm right up in here.
I'm so sorry for everyone who has to listen to this. Okay, no, it sounds fine.
It sounds lovely.
Okay, you can have the headphones back now.
This is why we had to do tests and not record the tests.
I'm very controlling.
I know. We've learned this.
No one else knows how controlling I am, but they will learn that through this podcast.
Yes. So let's paint a picture of where our relationship's at. I can kind of give you like a brief history of how we met, and then Lizzie can talk about the boring stuff like the business. I'll talk about the really fun couple-y loving stuff, and you can just talk about the business.
Are we literally starting from the beginning? Okay.
Well, I think it's important. I think a lot of people don't know who we are and why they should even dedicate time out of their lives to listen to us.
6 years ago, in a land far, far away.
No. Why is it a land far, far away? It's Toronto.
Land before time.
It's like maybe 15 minutes outside of the city. Okay,
I'm so sorry this is taking so long to start.
So Lizzie and I are from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I actually live about 40 minutes, or I lived 40 minutes outside of Toronto. So both Lizzie and I attended a school or a university program. We went to Ryerson University and we studied radio and television arts. We actually first got introduced on Lizzie's first day of something called Frosh. Now in Canada, this is like a day where you celebrate starting school, joining university, going from high school to now this new program and new life.
Can I add a brief note there?
Yes, go.
Our frosh for our program, it was a specific frosh for our program, and it was really lame, and it was not at all like a traditional frosh that you would have gotten at like other universities.
Yeah, like American schools really know how to party and
like
do this
American
stuff, right?
schools, but they don't call it frosh, they call it something else.
Yeah,
don't they?
I don't
but
know
even
what they
at
call
like Western, if you're Canadian, you're gonna know the universities I'm mentioning. Like
it's just
Western
another
frosh,
university.
Western frosh is so different than whatever we experienced, especially the RTA frosh. But it was cute. Like, so basically you and your friend Dylan were like a group leader.
Yeah,
and
we
then
got designated. We were like a year. I'm a year older than Lizzie is.
Yeah.
So I was in my second year of university, and I signed up with my friend Dylan to take the new froshlings, the new blood, and take them around.
The funny part was I was so close to not going that day because my friend who was supposed to come with me was the only other person I knew who was in my program. Bailed on me. And so it took everything I had to be like, no, you have to go, you have to make friends. And, you know, like you've just come out of high school and you literally don't know anyone. And so I showed up to do this frosh thing and I was like, I need to go, I need to put myself out there, whatever. And can I be like fully transparent
Yes,
as to your
you can
condition
go.
that day? So Chris is drunk and in a cape.
Yeah.
Like a superhero.
I think I would have said those reverse. I said, you know, Chris was dressed as a superhero, mighty strong and powerful and cool looking. He might have also been mildly intoxicated. Just to
mildly?
preface my
Mildly.
viewpoint.
But okay.
It was my friend's birthday and it was the starting of school, and this is kind of what you did.
The day goes on and it was fine. But like it wasn't like we shared a moment or anything. You tried to talk to me at one point, like near the end of the day. And I don't remember what you said, but I got the impression that you were, I don't know, I thought you were like insulting me or something. I don't know, I thought you were making fun of me.
I'm sorry I made you feel that way. I probably just thought you were
probably
really
just trying
pretty
to talk
and
to me.
really, and just, I always thought, side note, I always thought Lizzie was like way out of my league, and I was
That's
always
nice.
like, wow, she's so beautiful. I would never get to be able to talk or be around her. And then I tried to talk to her and she thought I was mean to her. So
then yeah, he says that. And then you started dating another girl in my year for like 2 years. No, how long did you date her? A year?
I don't know,
2
like
years?
a year and a half or something.
And then, yeah, we didn't talk for 2 years. I went on lived my life. I dated somebody else, lived my university life. And then going into my third year, I'd just broken up with a previous boyfriend. And then are we going to get into like full detail on like how we started talking again?
No, I think like
have we actually told this story?
No, but this is a very in-depth version of the story. I felt like I was going to be like, this is how we met. But you guys are getting all of
No, we should just
details.
go from the beginning because otherwise it's going to be picking up this story. And this way, like when people come here, they now have the full story.
The base plate
now they
to
know.
work off of.
So I used to, in the summertime, stay at my parents' house because my old apartment didn't have air conditioning in the summer. So I would go to my parents' house, and my parents were at our cottage. And it was really convenient because it was closer to like where my summer job was, and I would have a car, and I had the whole house to myself. It was pretty sweet for summer. But anyways, so I'm in my bedroom at home. And if anyone knows what a silverfish is, those like centipede things with all of the legs, like the millions of legs, and they're huge. Like,
Yeah,
they can
just
get
like quickly
huge.
pause the podcast. I'm giving you permission to pause the podcast, but you have to come back. I promise. You have to come back. It's going to be good. Promise you.
Go on Google, search these things.
Hey Siri or Hey Google.
Oh my God.
Show me images of a silverfish.
No.
Find it. We will do that
Sorry.
later.
This is so going to give you guys nightmares. I'm so sorry.
Anyways, to give you context, if you didn't pause the podcast, because it doesn't really matter, it's just a huge insect with about 100 legs. It's like
they're
it's like
so
a
gross.
millipede.
Oh, sorry. I'm a noob.
Oh my God, Lizzie, you're such a podcast noob.
Yeah, they're terrifying, and I'm not scared of very many things, but that's one of them. I hate them. I hate them so much. So one appears in my room, and it's huge. It's probably like the length of, I don't know, I feel like it's half the length of my hand. Like, it was big. And so I'm thinking, well, this is in my bedroom. Like, it must die, or I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. So I take a shoe and I sneak up on it, You
took a
and
shoe?
I whack it. Yeah. What else do you kill bugs with?
I don't know. Just grab it with like a nice little cloth and then
I literally
treat
preface
it
this with that I
nicely.
hate them and
I
they
know.
terrify me.
I
so
actually like
it's in my
bugs.
space, and that's my rule with bugs. If you're in my space, you die. If I'm in your space,
Oh God.
you get to live. No
Is
problem.
it only if you're a bug or if you're been dating for 6 years?
Depends. You haven't pissed me off that much yet.
Okay, keep
Maybe
going.
one day. So anyways, so I squash, but then I realized I only got half of it. But for most creatures, this would do the trick. For silverfish, no, it does not. So it ran away. The other half of it literally ran away and hid somewhere in my room. And then I was like, well, I'm clearly not sleeping in my room tonight. So what does anyone post? What does anyone do at this time in their life?
And time in the year.
And time in the year.
The main social media outlet was the old Facebook.
The old Facebook. What was this, 2012?
Something like that.
2012. So I go downstairs. I go on Facebook. I change my status. Remember when people did that? And I was like, oh, just so everybody knows, when you kill a silverfish, this is what happens. Not sleeping tonight. So it's like, I don't know, 12:30 in the morning. And then you private messaged me on Facebook. You like went into Facebook Messenger and messaged me. And you're like, it's probably sitting outside. This is the first time we talked in 2 years.
Yeah.
It's probably sitting outside your house, watching you with binoculars, waiting for you to go to sleep.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny. Also, that could have gone like either two ways. That could have gone like really, really well or really bad. And it probably swayed in the area of really bad. Like if you message that to most girls that aren't Lizzie, they'd
I'm a
probably be
freak.
like, ew, unfriend, bye-bye, Chris. But Lizzie didn't do that.
No.
She did the old haha
Yeah.
and haha emoji. And I was
So
like,
then
ooh,
we started talking.
I'm a comedian to this girl.
Because if you know anything about how Facebook works, and this is before our days as, really trying to build up our social media presence.
This is
and
when we were
whatever.
real humans,
is when we were real
not
people.
social humans.
You kind of understand like why certain people's posts end up on your feed, right? So it's 12:30. Like Chris is up late. We haven't
I was
talked in
mixing a song.
We haven't talked in 2 years.
making hits.
Okay, we haven't talked in 2 years. Why does my stupid post about a silverfish end up on his news feed? Oh, because he creeps me.
Yeah.
That's why.
Look at you. You're
So
freaking
I knew
an
that.
Adonis.
I
You're
knew
so
that.
pretty.
Well, thanks. But I'm just saying I knew that. So then I knew you were probably interested in me. So then we started texting. And I thought you were cute. And also I was at that stage where like I'd broken up with someone. So I was like, I don't really give a shit.
I don't need a man.
I was kind of like mad at all men, and I really didn't think I was going
you
to date
saying
someone
you
for
want-
like a long time. No offense, guys, but like I'm sure you've gotten that way with girls. What? You get out of a relationship and you're like, I don't want to date anybody.
Yeah. Except me for the next 6.5
Could you
years.
stop with the joke? Like I'm trying to tell a story.
Keep going.
Jeez. So this is going to be so challenging.
Keep going.
Oh, you want me to keep going?
Yeah.
So then we started talking, and then I literally gave Chris my number. He didn't even ask for it. I was leaving work and we were talking on Facebook when I was at work because I went on the computers at work. I worked at a restaurant and I was a hostess, so we had computers. I wasn't supposed to do that, but whatever. And then I was like, oh, I'm gonna head home, but why don't you text me while I'm on my way home, while I'm going home? And then what does Chris do but not text me? So then I get home because I'm ballsy and I'm like, well, that's rude. A girl gives you her number and you don't text her back like an hour later. And then literally like 30 seconds later, I get a ding on my phone and it's Chris going, hey.
Yeah. I was playing Not Hard to Get. I don't know what I was doing. I think I was making music. And
I think you
distracted.
literally just, you get distracted so easily.
I get distracted very easily.
Squirrel.
Where?
Yeah. And then that's basically it. We kind of dated for 2 months and
kind of dated.
We did, but it wasn't official or anything. We never even had a conversation to say that we were actually dating. Just kind of happened.
No, just really enjoyed each other's company. But both of us like really weren't looking for anything. Like we weren't looking for a relationship. I think that's like a big thing is that
I was waiting for you to make a mistake so I would have an excuse not to date you. As terrible as that sounds.
I just think both of us were still very independent, and we didn't need another, you didn't need the relationship. It was just something that if it happened, that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it did turn out to be great, which is why, like, you were everything I thought that I wasn't going to find, which is the only reason why we started dating. That makes sense.
Yeah. That makes sense.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
These are soft if I put my nose on it.
I know. This is when people are going to stop listening. So let's get into some of the other good
that
stuff.
was so boring. Okay.
No, that was great.
They'll get better, guys. These are going to get better.
No. Don't paint it like it was bad. That was great. That was really fun.
Okay.
But that just gives you a bit of context about how Lizzie and I met. To really sum up the next 6 years very quickly, just to jump into these questions. Eventually, the relationship kind of kept getting stronger. Then a couple years after that, we were in a position where we could start a company together. So we did. And then it's been the last about 2.5 years that Lizzie and I have been working together. And the last 1.5 years we've been living together. And now we officially live together. And we spend a ton of time together. And a lot of people are always like, well, how does that work? It's just for us, it works really well. We really enjoy each other's time and company. And it's now a really great part of our lives.
I honestly think the reason that our relationship works as well as our business relationship works is because we're so honest with each other. And you're like one of those weird guys in the world that actually talks about what you're feeling more than I do, because I'm terrible at talking about my feelings. I'll often voice like what bothers me, but I don't know.
She's
when it gets
much more
to like
rational. I'm more
very
emotional
rational
in the relationship, and Lizzie's far more rational.
Yeah, I try to be very rational, and I'll bottle things up more often than
I have to pry. I have to
Yeah.
get like the biggest like whatever with a crowbar and just like
But with that said,
work at it for months.
that's a story for another time. But we both are very honest with each other in what we want to work on. If there's anything that we want to improve, we'll talk about it a lot. Which is, I think that's why everything works so well for us, to be honest. I think a lot of like couples and any relationship, people think everything is like understood in tonality or in body language or in like little subtleties. But I just think so much of that can be avoided if you just say what you're thinking sometimes.
Yeah.
And
it's
say
not
what
supposed
you
to be
want.
this game. Like it's very effortless in terms of like how we communicate about what's bothering us or where we want to go or what we want to be working on.
You can't be afraid of hurting the other person's feelings because I don't know. Because
I think just being understanding, or I think we're both very understanding of each other. We both are like, all right, if that's what you want, let's work towards it. And we're both like very aware of our time here on this planet, and we don't want to hold each other back from anything.
Yeah, we both want what we're working on to be the best.
Yeah.
And in the same way that you need to be okay giving criticism, you need to be okay receiving it.
Yeah.
And then not get upset about it and not get mad about it, because if that's how you're treating your relationship, it goes two ways. If that's how you're treating your personal relationship with each other, it's not going to work either. And if it's how you're treating your professional relationship, that's not going to work either.
No. And I think you've taught me a lot about how to deal with my own ego as well as my own criticisms. Like I didn't like hearing people say negative things or like, you shouldn't do that. But I think, you've helped me a lot in personal development. And I feel like because of that, we've been able to communicate even better.
Yeah. Like, I think a lot of it is just like your parents were so encouraging and so supportive of everything you did.
Yeah.
And like they thought everything you did was great. So then you kind of came out of that thinking, which was great because it's what, like you have no fear when you're going to do something now.
No, absolutely none.
Whereas my family is very like, if that's what you want, work at it and do it. But they're not going to be really excited and proud of you unless you've really done something really well. Like they don't hand out compliments easily or
like a
that
good job from your
enthusiastically.
family. Like you have to just work your tush off to get a good job.
My dad's thing was very good.
Yeah, and like that very good is
good.
like my parents
my
handing me
God.
like $100,000.
Like buy yourself a bottle of champagne and
Yeah.
like, you know, celebrate.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Like your parents would be thrilled if you came home with an 80 and mine was like, my dad was like, so.
Yeah. Anyways.
98, he'd be like, 98% on a test, he'd be like, where'd the 2% go? You got, oh, sorry.
So we got a couple questions from everybody. I thought we would jump into some of these questions that people have in terms of our relationship and our business.
Yeah.
Lizzie, do you think this would be a good time? Should we just jump into the questions? Should we give some context of the company and what we do? Or should we let's just jump into the questions. We'll leave that for another time.
We'll jump into the questions. But, I have one more thing before we get into these.
Okay.
I think we should announce something because I think we haven't talked about this before, but by the time this comes out, we will have made our announcement.
We would have made it public.
Yes,
We would have told the world after a month and a half.
Is it?
No,
it's more.
It'll be 2 months.
Because it just
next
happened. So the reason we haven't told you guys this is because it happened in the middle of us moving and so much stuff was happening, like buffer, and we were just so busy.
And we were moving, and we also just wanted to...
We wanted to do it the right way, and we wanted to keep it a bit private because so much of our lives is online. So, without further ado.
You tell it. It's our thing, but I would like for you to
Want me
share
to say it?
Yes.
Chris Howe and I are engaged.
What? Like, comment, congrats, guys.
And
So
the best
happy
is
for
I've
you.
been wearing my ring in YouTube videos and no one's noticed.
It's because most of your audience
Sneaky,
is male.
sneaky. It is because most of my audience is male. Guys!
And guys are like, talk about
Sorry, that
cameras.
was loud.
It is loud. You've peaked. You've distorted the
Sorry.
microphone a few times, but it's okay.
So yeah, we are engaged to be wed.
To be wed
to
for
be wed.
life.
But the thing is, we're going to be engaged for a while because I really am not excited about planning a wedding at all.
We also just want to enjoy. Like, we just bought a place.
Yeah.
We have it. We set it up. We don't want to be like, cool, the place is done. All right, what flowers should we have at our wedding? Like, it's just like, let's enjoy a year of no pressure. Tell people no pressure, even when they have that whole little disappointment on their face.
Yeah,
but,
everyone looks
just,
like super confused
just
when
deal
we
with
tell them
it.
that.
But the people who we care about are always like, "Oh, it sounds great.
like,
We
"That's
love it. That's a
a great
great idea." Like, thanks, Mom.
Well, we're just deferring. We're telling people we're not setting a date for a whole year. And then a year, so basically a year from, when are we getting engaged? October?
Yes, October 4th,
coming
2018.
October 2019, we're going to set a date. And it'll either be about a year from then or 2 years from then.
Correct.
Affirmative. So yeah, we will be getting married eventually. I don't know. It's so awkward. I don't know.
We'll be getting
I can't even call
married.
you my fiance. It's so weird.
She doesn't even say fiance. She calls
Fiancé.
me Beyonce.
Oh yeah, I call you Beyonce.
my Beyonce
my
fiance.
Beyonce.
I'm like, no, I didn't just buy you a ring to be called Beyonce. She doesn't get this moment as well. Fiance.
It just sounds so preppy. My Beyonce.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. Just
deal with
you
it.
agreed with me.
We agreed on nothing.
Anyways, now you know that going into this. So we're not just a couple dating anymore. We are engaged to be the wed.
Yeah.
And yeah, so looking at these questions, a lot of them are similar but phrased differently. Obviously, the one people ask the most is like, how do you handle like disagreements and fights, and how does that bleed into our relationship? Like, it's a loaded question. You just want to go straight to the good stuff.
Go.
So, that was you this time.
Okay. Well, we're learning.
What if it happens again?
We're learning.
Did you turn it off?
Okay, I'll go turn it off. You asked the
I'll
question.
start. So the question is, how do we handle disagreements, disputes? And I think there's two different kinds. There's personal arguments within, just us, one of us not picking their underwear off the floor or whatever. And then there's
That's Lizzie, by the way.
no, I don't think so, but we're not going to get into that right now. The other side of the argument is our professional arguments and disagreements in how we want to run the business or
Yeah.
a creative idea,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
Which ones are harder?
In terms of what we have to deal with?
I feel like our professional disagreements are harder than our personal ones.
Oh, the personal ones are a breeze.
We don't really have that many. We've had like one fight that I can remember was like not the greatest.
But that was like 4 years ago. Like
It was 2 to 3 years ago, yeah.
something like that. It was not that long ago.
Yeah, for people that have been dating 6.5 years, that's like pretty good actually.
Yeah, I like literally we've had one, whatever, we'll categorize it as one major fight. But it
Yeah.
really wasn't even a major fight.
We just playful bicker.
Yeah, we playful bicker, but it's like
Which you've
it's like
already
fun.
heard.
Yeah, you hear it on this podcast, but it's like the fun playful bickering. Like when you like watch an old couple like bicker and you're like, "Aw,
Yeah.
that's so cute. They love each
Well,
other."
other people think it's them fighting all the time, but then when you're in a relationship, you're like, no, that's just
That's just
how it is.
But it's not. I've even noticed that our bickering doesn't even have an undertone to it though.
No.
Because most bickering has this like weird undertone. You're like, that's uncomfortable. Like
Okay, but no, here's the thing. So when Chris, this is usually how it is though. When you do something that I don't like when you leave the coffee machine on and then don't take the little, I don't know what that's called, that holds the coffee.
Yeah.
What's it called?
I don't know.
The little handle thing that you fill
I'm
the coffee
blanking
in
right now.
on the Breville.
I know. I get it.
Okay. See, it's already getting like touchy about it. It's awkward. So stuff like that. And then I'll mention it once and I try to because like, if I'm just like, why are you leaving the Breville on? He'll get so mad. But like, that's just how my
I don't
family
get
is.
that mad.
If I said it to you like that, you would literally give me the silent treatment. If I said, stop leaving the Breville on. If I said it to you like that.
because I don't like that tone.
I'd be like, I've told you 3 times. You'd be like, I don't like your tone. So I literally have to be like, oh my God, he's done this for like the 5th time today.
I don't drink that much coffee. You've painted
You've done
a picture.
it 3 times in a day. And then I just go, Chris. And you go, yeah. I go, I love you.
No, you've learned.
That's what I did yesterday. And you said it was the nicest way that I've ever said
Yeah,
it.
because you've learned how to communicate that to me.
And then I was like,
it obviously, habits aren't the easiest to break. And sometimes things require repeated, hey, can you do this? And you've learned to be diplomatic about it. You've learned what hasn't worked for me, and you've learned to be able to communicate
no, it's
that.
not being diplomatic. I was being diplomatic before. Now you want me to be overly sensitive. It's like I'm hugging a bunny while I tell you.
Yeah,
that
because
you've
this is our home. It should be a nice place,
Okay.
not a battlefield.
So, I mean, you have to learn how to communicate with your person and if you said to me, oh my God, stop leaving your underwear on the ground, then I would be like, oh, and then I would probably just be like, leave me alone, and then I'd pick it up. And then I probably wouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
Or if I did a couple
but I don't
times,
like
you would just yell at me.
communicating like that.
But he doesn't like being communicated to that way, which is hard for me because when you just want to be like, you left the machine on again.
Yeah, because you come from a military family, so it's very matter of fact.
I think a lot of people
I came
do
from
that.
a
I don't
bed
think
family.
just
It's
me.
like a giant pillow. You walk into my home and it's like you're already being hugged and
your
no
mom-
one's hugging you.
Your parents just wouldn't tell you that you did that, and they would just constantly clean it for you.
No,
Yes.
no. They're good. They're also like, hey, just want to give you a heads up. This is,
James, hey man, just want to give you a heads up. You left finger guns. You left the coffee machine on, and
No, it
it's
eats
all
up
good, man.
power.
It's all good. And then
Just-
your mom would just do it for you.
No.
'Cause she's a lovely person, and would just
I know.
she loves you
I know. But,
so much.
okay, so
Now you know about Chris's family.
what we're getting at is that, and what you should take away from that conversation is that, there's different ways of communicating with your partner. Not everybody, takes in certain conflict the same way. So if you've learned how to communicate conflict with somebody else, that's not always going to land with the person that you're with. So really just be conscious of your tonality when you're saying certain things, or what is actually working and getting you the results that you want. So if I want Lizzie to stop leaving her underwear on the ground or something like that, for example, I've found a way to communicate that to her where it doesn't overly bother her, because you're still trying to you're still communicating something that's not like a fun thing to communicate. So really just pay attention to what works, change it up a little bit, and ultimately, communicate how you think they want to be communicated to, or ask them. I'm very vocal where I'm like, Lizzie, just say it like this. And she's actually doing that now. And it's made, I think I'm starting to get habit change in there.
Yeah. You're way better at how you react to when I tell you that stuff, because I don't know, I just feel like before you used to just get mad regardless of how I said it, or at least that's how it felt sometimes.
Yeah.
But
and now you're like, better. Oh, cool. This is, because I've become less sensitive about it, but also you're communicating in the way that I want to receive the information. And then it's just made it a non-battlefield opportunity in our home.
And explaining, like, if it's not received well, just being like, well, I was really just trying to say this. I didn't mean anything by it. Yeah. Don't just be like, you're being a huge dick or whatever.
No. Then just be a good human. If you feel like you've upset the person, say sorry genuinely. And then, work towards it. Because ultimately, this is a partnership. This is something that long term, there's going to be hiccups in the road no matter what, right? It's not always smooth sailing. There's going to be rough water.
Just never do stuff like just call each other names, and then never storm out. Don't yell.
Yeah. We've never done that.
Don't throw things, hit things. Yeah, we don't do that. That's just never something.
No, we actually always deal with the conflict, at least.
And the funny part is, I grew up in a household where my parents loved each other very much. Don't get any ideas from this. My parents had a very happy marriage. But they would get into the occasional yelling match. Especially my dad would yell.
Yeah.
Like, military father was like, he was loud and his yell was scary. So I heard a lot of yelling. He would yell at me.
Yeah. I would say like the one really nice part of what we've built in our relationship is that I don't think we've ever yelled at each other. I can't remember like any time where like any of us raised our voices really intensely.
In that one fight that we had a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but that was not even like anything. It was something, but it still wasn't that bad.
No, we still sorted it out. Any hooligans. I haven't said that in so long. So then that's personal stuff. Yeah. But what about professional? We didn't talk about how we sort those out.
Professional is far more complicated because you're adding a third interest into the mix. So yes, you're paying attention to the person's own personal interests, but you're also looking out for the company's well-being. The company is an entity that you're trying to. It's like a child. Like you're raising the child together and you're like, this is what I think is best for the child. And the other person's like, but no, this is what I think is best for the child. And the tough part is that you're keeping this third party best interests in mind all the time. But each person has a different perspective of what is the right thing for that third entity, that business. Yeah. So I find business conversations more struggling because there's time. Yes, that's how I feel, at least.
Good to know.
But I also I also don't care as much though. That's the other thing about like parts of the business. You know what I mean? I'm like, if you're like, this is what I want to do, I'm like, cool, it sounds good. Yeah. Like I don't fight for certain things because a lot of the times it's like it's so minimal. Like we're talking about like maybe that thing might cost us $1,000 or like $500, and in the long term, it's not worth having a fight over or creating an opportunity for a fight. Mm-hmm. So I sometimes...
Actually, can I come in now?
Yes.
We had a lot of tests working together. So we worked on a lot of like freelance things together.
This is a good point, yeah.
So we knew how that worked for, I don't know. How many years did we do that? 3 years?
3 years, yeah. So
it wasn't like we went cold turkey and then started working together all the time. So keep that in mind. We'd already, you figure out what works and what doesn't. You get to know each other better. And then we realized we were good working together because we've said this before. We both fill each other in doing things that the other person doesn't want to do, or we're good at something that the other person isn't as good at.
As a team, we're stronger.
Yeah, as a team, we're stronger. Now I forgot my train of thought.
So we didn't just jump into it being like, let's start a company, let's do this. Like there was a lot of micro tests, everything from like, Lizzie, can you help with a script on this one project that I'm working on? Because previous
or
to
edit this or like
Lizzie coming on to the company, it was just, I was the one running it for a long time. Like 3 years before Lizzie came in and helped like really make it a real company. I was just like this little lone soldier with this company name and just trying to make projects work. And at some point it became too much and the opportunity to, for her to come on full time was available.
Yeah.
But, those were always micro steps. As the company was growing, I needed help. So Lizzie on the weekend would help on projects, or she would help in the evening, or she'd help with editing and like.
Well, because here now backstory, I freelanced in university. So when I started university, I worked at a restaurant. Then I freelanced. I also worked for, I worked on a show, and like I don't know, what do you call that kind of show that I was reading? Domestic kind of HGTV type.
She worked on, domestic Canadian television.
Yeah. I did that for a while. Chris and I did our project together here and there. Then
started doing music videos.
Yeah, music videos. And then I got a full-time job because, when you get out of university, you're like, okay, I can work for someone now. I want to see what's out there. And like, having some stability cash flow wise is never a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I'd never had a full like 40-hour a week, 9 to 5 job. So I got a job at a corporate video production company in Toronto. I started as a production coordinator was my first title. And then by the time I left, I was in the middle of being promoted. I was really behaving as a junior producer, and if I stayed there for another year, I was fast tracking there because it was a smaller company. But so I learned what it was like to operate a small business and production company, and saw the way it was being successfully done. And I was able to work with larger brand names at, how old was I? 24. I was 23 when I started.
No, you were much younger. You were like 22, 23.
I was 22 or 23.
Yeah. So,
like, who was I working, like Panasonic, Canadian Tire?
Yeah, she just had she had a chance to join an organization where her influence was, being brought on to bigger projects. When you're freelancing for yourself, you're usually working with smaller companies until you really build a company to a point that big brands want to trust you to do projects. So Lizzie was able to work with somebody who had already established a company and a process for almost 20 years or something at that point. And then
longer. He'd
been doing it for a long time. And the point is that, you got to jump in kind of into the deep end of all that and learn a lot of stuff very quickly and learn what pressure from bigger companies is like.
Yes. So that was really great for me. And I did enjoy it. But at a certain point, I kind of realized, I was like, this isn't what I want for myself. Yeah. Mainly because I don't think John would ever find this. Hi, John, if you're listening.
Don't say names.
I don't know his last name. There's lots of people named John. He knows if he's
John
listening to this, he knows I'm talking about him.
World.
Well, I wouldn't hate saying this to his face. It's really just that.
Oh, savage! Shots fired.
No, it's not mean. Oh my God! I'm just gonna say that it's his company, and he wanted his creative vision all the time.
Yes.
And I realized that no matter how long I stayed there, he was never gonna let me pitch my own idea and just have it, because he always was going to think his way was better, even though I was like the young person.
His company.
Yeah, even though I was always like the young person at the company, and he'd be like, "Oh, we need your opinion and whatever, because you're the one in touch with social media." I'm like, you really didn't care about my opinion.
They got 50 likes a photo, Lizzie,
on Instagram.
They're the social media kings of the world.
Did you just look? How do you know that?
I don't know. I think that's
that
a
probably
lot.
is
That's
what
also
they were
very
getting.
generous. I think it was probably like 14.
Might have been less.
I think I liked a photo and it got 14 likes.
I don't know.
And I was the 14th like.
Anyways. Yeah, then Chris was getting more and more business, and I was telling him, I was like, well, you could be doing this and this. And he's like, but I don't want to do that. I don't have time to do that. And then I just kind of said, well, like, why don't we just do this together? I think we could make it work financially. And you agreed, so I quit. And then I wanted to throw up because
I also wanted to throw up because at the time I was making just a bit more money than like a single person my age should be making. So like I was doing okay. I was like, I had enough business and I was just learning the ropes of stuff. And I was like, okay.
You were also, though, I don't know, do we talk about, we're getting so sidetracked.
No, this should be like a whole separate podcast, but basically it was a scary time. We'll save that for another podcast. It was a scary time because we weren't too sure if we would get enough business, we can convert old clients into higher paying clients, if we can land bigger jobs. And really it was like a test period of 3 months that hopefully we don't just burn all the money that was going on. And we were experimenting with a lot of different things because that's a juicy story at some point. That's why that was the reason. That should be a YouTube video.
This person, I'll hint there. This person was the reason that you thought that we could afford to do this.
Yeah.
That I could come on and then.
So it's a good thing.
We'll get to that
It's good and bad.
Yeah, it's good and bad. It's
the confidence
long
to do
story.
the plunge, but long term,
follow through.
No follow through.
So, yeah, we never told that.
That's
story.
too many cliffhangers for these people.
So
Let's go into the next question.
Wait, just moving on. Then we started working together. Everything's been great ever since.
And life is amazing, and all jolly worms and happy dances. That's not a thing.
No, okay, but at the end of that year, it was like the best year we'd ever had.
Financially and creatively.
I was very happy and I was so proud of us and I was just like, I can't even believe
you were
that
reminiscing last night about that.
I was, because it was just like, I don't even know. We did things right. You know, it was pretty crazy. And I was only, I was like 23 or 24. 23. Are you looking up questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Did we really answer how we get through like work fights? I don't think we did. I think we got sidetracked.
Basically, the takeaways that I would kind of communicate here is that, you know, we've learned for both entities, both our personal relationship and our business conflicts, on how to communicate some of our messages. But, you know, ultimately with the company, you know, you're going to make the decision that's best for the company and best for treating people properly in that company too.
Yeah, if one person disagrees with the other, we just try and position why we'll really talk about why this is the better option for whether it's like a creative concept or whatever, and explain why.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we do have to meet in the middle and compromise, and it's like, well, why don't we give them both options and let them choose?
Yeah.
Because a client's never going to be upset when you're giving them more creative, you know. But I think the hardest thing that we've encountered recently is separating our like social media work with know-how media work.
Well, they basically took on another full-time job.
Yeah.
So
not resenting the other one for working on something else. And like what we had a problem with recently was you didn't want to work on a certain know-how media project. And I was getting to the point where I was like, I can't do all of these by myself. I need you to edit this. And we can't afford to outsource someone for this. And I needed you to do it. And then you got really annoyed with it.
Yeah. I think I was also just very stressed out at the time because there's a lot of projects. You know, there's been a lot of interest on both the social side and the know-how media side that I think the weight of all of it got to me. And I was feeling like maybe one of the projects we were working on at the time really didn't even matter. So then I just felt like I was wasting my time. And that was the real issue, is it was cutting into like stress mixed with there's other things I wanted to be working on that also had deadlines and pressure. And I just was feeling like overwhelmed by it all.
Yeah. And then I have to be there to like talk you into wanting to work on it when I'm like, I don't even really want to do this either.
No, and you were really great about it. And I actually respect you so much for how you dealt with it, because you were really great during maybe one of the only breakdowns I've had about the business and everything
what did I do
recently.
That was so great.
No, you were just really cool about it. You're like, I can't remember exactly what you said, but you know how people are always like, I don't remember what you said, but I remember how you made me feel. And you didn't make me feel like crap. And that's like a really important thing, is that you didn't make me feel like...
That's surprising. I thought I would have done that.
Oh, man. You're just questioning yourself.
I don't remember what I said.
A glimmer of wonderful hope came out of Lizzie's mouth.
I was... Yeah.
No, she was really great about it. She was very rational.
Well, I think I just explained that. I was like, you're not the only one.
Yeah,
who's feeling this way, right? And I said...
But you didn't say it like in a mean tone. You were very... you were very understanding about it, and you understood why I was feeling stressed out, you know, and on very fairly, I think it's the first time ever, well, or in a very long time that I've had a moment like that. Right. And the nice thing was like when something that intense came up, at least on my end, you were really understanding about it. And you were like, hey, as a business partner, but also like, you know, your fiance, I understand, and we'll figure out ways that we can make things work, but like, let's just get through
you
it.
edit this project.
Yeah. But you were cool about it. And I appreciated that. And I think if you're looking to start a business together and you're looking to do it, like the thing is like you're creating more opportunities for you to have conflict, but you're also creating more opportunities to work through that conflict and get better at communicating. So
communication is so important. If you're already noticing that you guys have trouble communicating, like in your personal side of your relationship, then I don't think this is for you, because it's not going to alleviate stress. It will add it. But in other ways for us, it's also strengthened our relationship. It's made our relationship more interesting and fulfilling.
Definitely.
I think fulfilling is a good word for what it is.
Yes.
Yes. But I think setting boundaries is really important when you are in a relationship and also working together. I try not, like I've said this in some other things too, like we try not to talk about work over meals as much as possible. Lunchtime is lunchtime. Like you have to be pretty strict, I think, with that kind of stuff. Dinner time is dinner time. Like when you're out of the office, we try to shut, because we work at home now. Yeah. We shut the office door, or at least we try our best to, because every time you look at it, it reminds you of it. So we shut the office door. We try to set reminders on our phones to put our phones down. You really, like, it is a constant effort. So don't think that it's ever easy for people to just turn off and stop talking about work and your relationship begins. It's something that you're always working on, and you will have to, like, when you're out at Walmart and you're like, oh, by the way, did you get that email? Don't say it then. Set a reminder in your phone. Talk about it later.
Yeah, it's just setting blocks of time where it's like, this is work time, this is relationship time. As basic as that sounds, it's more through the follow through and actually executing on that, because there's a reason why people are like, you got to set boundaries, because even as an entrepreneur, everything can just flow into it. And I've learned a lot more about setting boundaries from Lizzie, because I'm just the one that would just be like, it's work time, now it's lifetime, now it's this time.
Because you're always, I feel like inherently as a person, you're in a much more relaxed state than I am.
Yes.
And I think this I think this is also a thing about how the male brain works and how the female brain works. Mm-hmm. Women are you agree with me on this, though. Women are constantly like thinking, and this isn't a good thing or a bad thing about either sex. Like, I would prefer to think like a man, because in my life, I would probably be happier. Women are always thinking about the next thing. We're thinking, like, right when we finish breakfast, we're thinking, okay, what am I making for dinner tonight also? Do I need to defrost something? You know what I mean? But we're not, okay, that's like a stereotypical thing. We're not just thinking about meals. But it's that in every aspect of life, though. It's, as you're doing one thing, you're thinking about, as you're working on one email, you're thinking about the next email and all the emails you have to write or what you have to do later that day, or, we're just constantly thinking about the next thing. So it takes a lot more for me to be able to turn off and to get into a relaxed state and to stop thinking about work and to just focus on whatever we're doing at that time, whether we're at Walmart looking for towels or like we're doing laundry. I need to be completely cold turkey in order to stop thinking about work and then to relax. And I think that's why the boundaries have been so successful, I think.
Yeah, it's just like I still have issues with executing on them.
Because you'll just bring it up and you're like, you're so casual about it. But when you're like, oh, hey, did you see that email from like this client? As we're settling down at 9 o'clock to watch our Netflix show, and I'm like, really? Because if I didn't, then I'm going to want to do it right then and there.
Yeah, but I've also learned, before I would just say it, now I second guess myself and catch myself and then decide, oh yeah, let's do it tomorrow. My main issue is that one of my philosophies is like, if it can be dealt with in 5 minutes, just do it right now. And the tough thing is like, sometimes I'm like, oh, that will just take 5 minutes, just do it now. But like then it's the next thing that only takes 5 minutes, and then the next thing only takes 5 minutes,
You
and
get
really
sucked in.
you've just sucked yourself into another hour of wasting your life about work when you could just be enjoying time, being human, because that's okay.
And the reality is, if your best work hours, if you are just that person who's like, I just want to work like 8 hours a day, for example, set out your 8 hours, don't care where they are in the day. And then if you're getting everything done in those 8 hours, like you shouldn't be like working late every single day unless you love the hustle, whatever, do whatever you want. But I don't like to work that way. We usually do work late, but I try to set hours. I want to work from this time to this time, and then after that I want to be done. Mm-hmm. And then I want to walk out and I want to do other things with my day. So if it's your relaxing time, then it's your relaxing time. So you don't come back into the office. You don't do that because you're just going to have another 8 hours to do it the next day. It's still going to be there. That makes sense?
Yep, I agree. And I think that's a good point to end the podcast on, because it's been 53 minutes and 24 seconds of talking. And I think
oh my God, no, we have 7 more minutes.
No, these podcasts, we have not discussed what the format of these podcasts is going to be.
1 hour. I listen to podcasts that are like an hour and a half.
No, I think they should be
No, but I think
half an
1 hour.
No, I think they should be more concise and to a half hour.
Oh, crap. But I want,
45
I don't know,
minutes.
I just thought it would be an hour.
How about that?
Compromise, guys.
Compromise. 45 minutes?
45 minutes. So is this just going to be a longer one then? Because it's 53 minutes long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for bearing with us on the first podcast we've ever done. I hope you learned something.
I've learned a lot by doing this, and I think the future episodes, just from my perspective, will have a few more technical perfections that we're going to like sort out. The second thing is I think that we'll have a theme for each episode that we can always touch on, so it's not just like...
This gave you backstory. This gave you context.
We'll call this episode the beginning.
Oh my God, you're still interrupting me. Jesus. This will give you context to our relationship and to our business. And so now you know all of the things that led up to right now. Going forward, when we have future topics, you now know us.
Who Chris and Elizabeth.
And maybe in the future episodes, Chris won't interrupt me as much, but I doubt that.
It's more fun. That's a character. His name's Interrupting Chris.
How do you sign off on podcasts? We can't do like, subscribe, hit the bell.
Just send us a DM on Instagram if you liked it, and then we'll know.
If you didn't, I don't want to hear about it, okay? No. Don't tell me.
But yes, please subscribe. Tell your grandma, tell your dog, tell people who also have ears that you thought this was a fun time.
Tell your kids, tell your wife.
And we're going to be doing it more consistently because this was actually quite fun.
I enjoyed this.
Okay.
We've never talked for so long.
Bye.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.